Back in 2001, Elton John decided it was time to clear some space in the garage by auctioning off a massive slice of his legendary classic car collection through Christie's, raising over £1.5 million for charity in a single day. But Elton's car collection was something else. Each one came with custom interiors, signature plaques, and the kind of bespoke Elton John touches that made them as unforgettable as his music. We're talking about a Bentley Turbo R with a custom sound system tuned for his piano-heavy playlists, to a Jaguar that showed Rocketman vibes on the road. Elton's garage was a concert of British and Italian automotive art. Without further ado, let's dive into his ultimate classic car collection. 1. Aston Martin V8 Vantage Volante. Picture this. It's early 1985, and Elton's strolling through Knightsbridge, probably humming a tune in his head, when a deep, dark red Aston Martin in the showroom window grabs him by the collar. He's hooked. He calls Nicholas Me & Co. And not long after, his Vantage Volante is born, finished in a color called Royal Cherry, paired with creamy magnolia hides and matching royal cherry piping inside. Clean, classy, but with just enough flamboyance to match the man himself. Elton ordered his with BBS wheels that looked like they were crafted by a jeweler and a Sony stereo, so he could blast tunes as he rolled to Watford football games. But, you know Elton, a 5.3-liter V8 pushing 390 horsepower just wasn't enough for the Rocketman. By 1992, he handed the keys to R.S. Williams Ltd., and they took it up to a 7.0-liter monster, churning out 510 horsepower. When Elton finally decided to part with it in 2001, it went on the block at Christie's, alongside a Jaguar XJ220 and a Ferrari 512TR. Since then, the Aston has racked up over 30,000 miles, now living with a collector in Paris who reportedly saw the car and had to have it immediately. This Vantage Volante is truly special in how it blends rockstar bravado with British elegance. You're looking at a drop-top beast that can cruise comfortably down the motorway, while also having the power to embarrass supercars of its era. Its story, from a showroom on Sloane Street, to football games, and eventually to auction, captures exactly why some cars are just cool. There's no other way to put it. You can stand next to any car on the Villa d'Estaing, Miuras, one-off concepts, million-dollar hypercars, and somehow, this royal cherry Aston Martin still pulls your eyes back to it. If you love seeing how legends spend their millions on the world's finest cars, make sure you hit that subscribe button on our channel and tap the bell so you don't miss the hidden gems. Second, Rolls-Royce Phantom 6 Limousine. Now, let's switch gears to something that's the polar opposite in personality, but just as legendary. Elton John's Rolls-Royce Phantom 6 Limousine. You see, back in 1973, Elton already owned a Phantom 6, a clean white example that he used to glide through Manchester. Originally finished in walnut brown with a gold coach line and a two-tone interior, it was one of those cars ordered with just about every possible extra you could tick on the Rolls-Royce list. It had an electric intercom, shaded glass, adjustable rear seats, a built-in cocktail cabinet with a Sony TV and stereo 8-track, and even Parkersteck Savoy Draylon fabric in the rear. The rear lights were recessed, the window glass was shaded, and there were stainless steel trim strips accenting its massive silhouette. Over the years, Elton didn't just store this car away like some dusty museum piece. This Phantom was part of his life. He used it for tours, big nights out, and special occasions. It was the car that took him to Buckingham Palace when he received his CBE in 1995. It's also the car that saw bomb squad sweeps before that palace visit, proof of the high-profile life Elton lived. By the mid-90s, Elton decided it needed an update, so it underwent a complete restoration, costing over £100,000. The walnut brown was swapped for Mason's black. The interior was decked out in black leather, and the windows were tinted for that rockstar privacy. The rear compartment got a fax machine, a video system, and a new stereo system so powerful that the back window had to be reinforced to prevent it from blowing out when the volume cranked up. Derek Balcom, Elton's driver, and John Newman, his fleet manager, both remember this car fondly. Derek called it more enjoyable for the passenger than the driver, while John described the sound system as a very expensive set of headphones. Guests would sit in the back just to feel the music vibrate through them, like a rolling, luxurious subwoofer massage. Elton himself once said, "I've used this car a lot. It's really comfy. We did tours in the country in it. It's got a great stereo system, 36 speakers, and a fax machine. I'm attached to it." 3. Bentley Continental R Coupe. Let's talk about one of his most elegant but underrated rides from his 1990s peak, the Bentley Continental R Coupe. It's a powerful grand tourer that had real presence during a time when Elton was topping charts and filling stadiums around the world. Delivered brand new to Sir Elton himself, this Continental R Coupe didn't just sit in a garage looking pretty. It strutted its stuff in the Nikita music video, rolling through icy roads while Elton, wrapped in a warm coat, dreamily admired that Russian soldier from afar. This wasn't just a car, it was part of the pop culture fabric of the 80s. The Continental R was Bentley's shot at reviving its performance heritage, giving their clientele something that could glide down the Autobahn at over 130 miles per hour, while keeping you in that buttery soft Connolly leather. Under the hood, you'd find a 6.75-liter V8 that wasn't just about power. It was about effortless thrust, that quiet push that lets you know you could outrun almost anything without even trying. Inside, you had Wilton carpeting so plush, you'd think you were stepping into the Ritz, and the burl walnut veneers were polished to a mirror finish. Every inch of this car screamed quiet confidence. Elton's model came finished in Tudor red, with a beige leather interior piped in red, matching the exterior beautifully. It even kept that matching convertible top for those days when he wanted to feel the wind as he cruised from his Windsor estate to the studio. This specific car, registration B20ELT, came with a personalized plate and a storybook history. In 2008, it ended up near Venice, with an enthusiast who only drove it sparingly for 7 years before it went to auction in Paris. Later, it got a fresh service, new tires, and a proper once-over by West Hoathly Garage, to the tune of over $10,000, keeping it in top condition. You know Elton loved to personalize everything, so it's no surprise he added a boot-mounted CD changer and bass unit, probably blasting his own demo tracks or classics from his influences while heading to the studio. It's that kind of subtle detail that makes this Bentley a personal piece of Elton's journey. 4. Bentley S1 Continental Sport Saloon. Elton's S1 Continental, finished in a dignified shell gray, with a dark green interior, rolled off the line in 1956, and has a story that would make any car lover's heart race. It was the last generation of Bentley's 6-cylinder cars before the V8s took over, and it carried that 4.9-liter straight-six engine that could quietly push this large, elegant saloon up to 120 miles per hour. For a car that could comfortably fit 4 adults and their luggage, that was nothing short of a miracle in the 50s. Sir Elton picked this car up in 1976, calling it the most beautiful car that's ever been designed. He wasn't wrong. With that sweeping fastback design from H.J. Mulliner, it looked like it was gliding even when standing still. It wasn't just about beauty either. This Bentley was about presence. It was about stepping out of a car that told the world, "I've arrived," without ever having to say a word. Elton didn't just let it gather dust in the garage either. He sent it to Weybridge Automobiles for a full, bare metal restoration. They resprayed it, redid the interior, and brought the mechanicals back to life. Power-assisted steering and air conditioning were added, because if you're Elton John, you're going to drive your dream car in comfort. He even had a modern stereo system installed, likely blasting Aretha Franklin or a demo of Song for Guy while he cruised down the road. This S1 Continental stayed in Elton's collection for 25 years before finding its next celebrity owner, Sir Alan Sugar, who kept the Bentley meticulously serviced by P&A Wood and only put about 1,000 miles on it during his ownership. It later moved on to Chelsea Workshop, racking up over $38,000 in meticulous servicing, ensuring this piece of rolling art remained in top condition. 5. Ferrari 512 TR. The Ferrari 512 TR is one of his flashier rides from the 90s, all dressed up in that iconic Rosso Corsa red. This was the same car gifted to him by MCA Records back in 1987 for his birthday, letting the Rocketman hit the streets in style. He held onto it until 2001, putting just over 7,400 miles on the clock before letting it go to a UK Ferrari dealer. Now get this. Someone down in Australia recently dropped a cool 420,000 Aussie dollars for this Ferrari. That's around $301,000 in US dollars. Some folks think it's wild to pay that much for a Tessterosa. But hey, it's Elton's Tessterosa. When this beauty hit the auction block with Shannons, they figured it would pull in around 300 to 350,000 Australian dollars. But it blew past expectations, racking up 9,440 views from folks who couldn't look away. Elton's car has been around the world, shipped to Australia sometime around 2010 before landing with another owner in 2014. It had only 10,733 miles on it then. This thing is practically a museum piece, but it's more than a static collector's item. It's a V12-powered Ferrari that Elton himself used to carve up the roads. The same roads where the man behind Tiny Dancer liked to drive fast and loud, the way a Ferrari should be driven. In 2001, this 512 TR sold for around £98,000, with only 1,812 miles on it. And by the time it resurfaced at Coy's Spring Classic sale, it had barely added 300 miles. The second owner kept it in pristine shape, complete service history, a letter of authenticity from Sir Elton himself, and the original Rosso Corsa paint paired with beige leather interior. Recently serviced with new cam bolts, the car was described by Coy's managing director as the lowest mileage 512 TR on the market, expected to fetch between 90,000 and 110,000 pounds. It's the kind of Ferrari that you know has stories locked into that engine rumble. 6. Ferrari 365 GTB4 Daytona. The Ferrari 365 GTB4 Daytona is the kind of car that grabs your attention from across the street, with those classic pop-up headlights and wedge-shaped body that looked futuristic when it dropped in the late 60s. Under that endless hood sits a 4.4-liter V12 breathing through 6 Weber carburetors, pushing out 352 horsepower at 7,200 RPM. Enough to hit 175 miles per hour if you could find an empty highway and enough guts to keep your foot down. The Daytona isn't named for a racing win. Fans gave it the nickname after Ferrari's 1-2-3 finish at the 1967 24 Hours of Daytona. Elton's Daytona, though, has its own flavor. Only around 1,400 Daytona Coupes were made, with just 156 being right-hand drive. Elton got his hands on one that was originally purchased in the UK back in 1972 for just £10,072 before it landed in his garage, joining his lineup of British bruisers, Bentleys, Astons, and the occasional Rolls-Royce. This Daytona didn't just sit pretty. It's clocked 82,000 miles, which in the world of classic Ferraris makes it a rare gem that's actually been driven, not just hidden away for bragging rights. Those miles mean you won't feel guilty adding your own, maybe on a cruise through the Rockies, or a summer trip along the Pacific Coast Highway, soaking in the growl of that V12 that's still eager to stretch its legs. What's even better is that this Daytona comes with power steering, so you're not wrestling the wheel while inching through downtown traffic. It's a real GT car, comfortable enough to drive, powerful. 7. Ferrari Tessterosa. It's 1987, and Elton John's turning 40. He's already got enough platinum records to wallpaper Buckingham Palace. What do you get the Rocketman who has everything? Well, if you're his record label, you go big. MCA rolls up with a bright red Ferrari Tessterosa, the quintessential 80s supercar. Big side strakes, flat 12 engine, pop-up headlights. It's all here. Not just any Ferrari either. This one's dipped in Ferrari's legendary Rosso Corsa red, topped off with a giant red ribbon and a feather boa. The party's crawling with A-listers, Richard Branson, Phil Collins, and Tim Rice. I mean, it's Elton's birthday bash. You know the vibe had to be outrageous. Under that sleek Pininfarina bodywork sits a 4.9-liter flat 12 pumping out 390 horsepower at 5,300 RPM. Back then, that was serious firepower. With its Bosch Cagetronic fuel injection and Magneti Marelli ignition, This thing was the poster car every kid had on their bedroom wall. Now, even with a bit of wear, a few scrapes on the front spoiler, a bit of patina on the tan leather inside, this beauty still screams rockstar. Only about 10,735 miles on the clock. That's a lazy Sunday drive for most Ferraris, but for Elton's, it's part of the mystique. He kept it for over a decade before it first crossed the auction block at Christie's back in 2001. When Elton decided to slim down his fleet in the early 2000s, this Tessterosa stuck around longer than most. It stayed in his collection until 2003, before heading to a UK dealer, then eventually crossing continents to Australia. Now it's looking for its next lucky owner. Whoever takes it home gets more than just a car. They're driving a piece of rock and roll history. 8. Jaguar XJ220. So you're probably thinking it can't get wilder than a red Ferrari gifted by your record label. Oh, but with Elton, it always does. Well, Elton also owned the Jaguar XJ220, Britain's ultimate swing at a supercar. This one's a whole different breed of big cat. Back in 1988, the British International Motor Show crowd practically lost their minds when the XJ220 concept showed up. Long, low, and sleek as a silver bullet. Jaguar promised a 6.2-liter V12, all-wheel drive, scissor doors, the whole 9 yards. Naturally, Elton had to have one. So did Rod Stewart. Within an hour of the big reveal, over 1,500 folks plunked down 50 grand each just to get their name on the list. When the production version finally arrived, reality had trimmed it back. The V12 turned into a 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6. The four-driven wheels became just the rears, and some fancy bits like ABS and scissor doors stayed in the design sketches. It didn't matter. Jaguar's engineers still pulled off a monster. This beast could sprint from 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds, faster than a Ferrari F40, quicker than a Porsche 959, and good for a top speed of 213 miles per hour. For a hot minute, it was the fastest production car on the planet until McLaren's F1 knocked it off the pedestal. Elton's XJ220 didn't sit in a dusty barn either. Jaguar made sure it stayed perfect. In 2017, it got the full spa treatment at Donlaw Racing, the gold standard for XJ220 care. They tore into the steering rack, rebuilt the hubs, cleaned out the cylinder heads, polished the body, and slapped on fresh bridge stones. 9. Jaguar EType Series 1 4.2 Roadster. Back in 1987, Elton picked up this stunning E-Type, rolling under the registration plate OKE1. His team used to call it OK Elton, which fits since this machine is nothing short of a masterpiece. Under that long, elegant hood sits a 4.2-liter inline-six engine, delivering around 265 horsepower. It's capable of 150 miles per hour, which is wild for something designed over 60 years ago. The E-Type carries a legacy born from the racing D-Type, one of Jaguar's finest, and this particular model kept its purity before regulations changed its face forever. This car is practical too, with wide doors and a trunk that can swallow a weekend's worth of luggage. But no one buys an E-Type for the trunk space. They buy it because it looks like it could beat an Italian beauty in a catwalk contest, while still leaving tire marks on the road. Finished in Carmine red, over a black interior and soft top, Elton's E-Type is the exact spec it left the factory in back in 1965, ready to drop jaws. The car was meticulously restored in 1979, and even 30 years later, the restoration still held strong, showing the craftsmanship that went into keeping it perfect. It spent its life under Elton's ownership, maintained, fueled, and kept ready for those moments when the road called. During Elton's ownership, the car wasn't driven hard. It wasn't abused. It was preserved, kept in a state of ready-to-go performance, while looking like a piece of art in his collection. After Elton, it found its next caretaker, who stored it with other classics in a climate-controlled garage, ensuring it stayed just as pristine. The E-Type's chromed wire wheels, trio radio cassette, and original jack and tool roll add to its charm, preserving its character and originality. You get that authentic 60s sports car smell, the feel of those seats, and the mechanical symphony as you row through the gears. This isn't just a car. It's a living, breathing piece of British motoring history, with Elton John's fingerprints on the wheel. 10. Aston Martin DB7 Vantage. Last on our list is Elton's Aston Martin DB7 Vantage. Elton John bought it during his Made in England era, custom specced to match his taste for refined luxury and raw performance. He ordered it in classic British racing green, paired with a light tan leather interior, making it the perfect blend of subtlety and sophistication. Under the hood sits a 3.2-liter straight-six engine, equipped with a supercharger, pumping out 335 horsepower and 360 pound-feet of torque. It'll hit 60 miles per hour in just 5.6 seconds and keep pulling all the way to 165 miles per hour. Elton made sure this DB7 came with every comfort he wanted, including a 6-stack CD changer, an Alpine stereo with a remote, and a Motorola car phone so he could keep in touch on the road. It's got heated seats, a fully adjustable electric seat setup, cruise control, and even an Aston Martin Stage 1 stainless steel exhaust that gives it just the right growl when you open it up. Over its 30-year lifespan, this car barely stretched its legs, with just around 14,500 miles on the odometer. That's just enough to keep it fresh while preserving its condition. It's like buying a new classic that's been waiting for the right driver to give it the miles it deserves. What's special about the DB7 is that it marks a turning point for Aston Martin. Styled by Ian Callum, the DB7 is seen as a modern classic, with curves that signaled a new era while holding on to the brand's timeless feel. For Elton, it wasn't just about having another car. It was about having a piece of that legacy, a car that could deliver a proper British Grand Touring experience with the reliability and comfort expected of a high-end modern machine. The DB7's design allows it to slip through the air with ease, while its chassis keeps it composed on the twisty backroads of the English countryside. With Elton's touch, the car carries a history that few DB7s can claim, making it a unique piece of celebrity and automotive history rolled into one. If you enjoyed this look inside Elton's ultimate classic car collection, smash that like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which of these rockstar rides you'd drive first. Don't forget to check out our other videos on billionaire car collections right here on the channel.